Good morning.
Good morning.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
Well, I want to thank you all for joining me here today. I'm Ed Bolton of the Federal Aviation Administration, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you all about the great work the men and women of the FAA are doing to modernize transportation in the airspace, to take it from a 50s type domain to something that we can be proud of going into the next century. Most Americans don't know that this airspace system is the largest, most complex, the most diverse, and the safest in the world, and the safest this world has ever seen. And so to talk today, I really want to cover three things. I want to talk, first of all, about how we got here, the tremendous work that's been done over the past decade by people like you to put us in a position to be successful, mostly focused on infrastructure. But then this is a tipping point. This is a turning point, right? And so because the infrastructure has been largely complete, we're changing our focus to make sure that we are meeting the requirements of the stakeholders. And some great work is happening in that area. And then finally, I want to make the case and make the argument that NextGen is not just about the work that we're doing for the next 1 to 3 years, but NextGen is now. And because of the tremendous work that's gone on, there's some benefits that are being yielded today. And so, if you're ready, I'll start. All right, so first, how do we get here? Where are we? What are we doing? Really, now we're at a tipping point in NextGen. It's been principally an infrastructure program. The focus of NextGen has been to, and if you think of the NextGen program, an analogy you could use is like the National Highway System. And if you take what air traffic controllers do, you take their work, you can use it and say that the en route air traffic controllers are like the interstates themselves, right? And the terminal air traffic controllers are like the on and off ramps. So much of the money, the $4.7 billion that's been spent on this program, has been spent to modernize that infrastructure. And that work is largely complete. In fact, the en route portion will be complete in March of 2015. The terminal portion will be largely complete in the summer of 2016. But similar to modernizing or upgrading your heating and cooling system, it's not obvious that you have significant benefits from modernizing your infrastructure. Now, you do need to modernize your infrastructure, right? You need to make sure that your pipes work and your plumbing works. Otherwise, it becomes unsustainable. Otherwise, it doesn't work at all. But it's just not obvious to the stakeholders and the customers that this is yielding benefits in the near time frame. And so a little more than a year and a half ago, the leadership of the FAA decided to work with the stakeholders, to work with industry, through the NextGen Advisory Committee, and look at the 39 operational improvement segments that NextGen is comprised of, and prioritize those. And that work resulted in 3 priorities: multiple runway operations, performance-based navigation, and surface and data sharing. A 4th one, data communications, was added because it's a revolutionary transformation. These focus areas were given to the FAA. First of all, we worked across the various stakeholders within the FAA, and we came up with a specific implementation plan. Now, this implementation plan provides milestones, locations, timelines, metrics, with specific deliverables of capabilities we're going to provide in the 1 to 3 year time frame. And we published that report on time. We provided that to the Hill on the 17th of October. And we're in the process of executing those milestones to plan. As a matter of fact, as of today, out of 11 milestones that we should have completed, we've completed 11 of them. And so we're committed to doing this work, right? Committed to making a difference, committing to providing capabilities in the near time frame. But I think it's important to point out that NextGen isn't just about the infrastructure work that's been done, although that's very important. It isn't just about doing capabilities in the 1 to 3 year time frame, although that's critically important. NextGen is what we're providing today. So let's take multiple runway ops, for example. Multiple runway ops is really about airports that have more than 1 runway, and it's also about wake recategorization. Well, the smart analysts were able to examine and determine that if you took each airport and looked at each specific airplane in that airport and did a unique analysis for that airport, that air fleet, you could actually reduce the separation standards. And so through that wake recategorization, you take a place like Atlanta. Through wake recategorization, Delta Airlines was able to reduce arrivals by 1 minute, the taxi time, and reduce departures by 2 minutes. It is their estimate that over the course of a year, they believe they'll save somewhere between $1.25 and $3 million every month. One of the NextGen technologies is called equivalent lateral spacing operations. And without talking about divergent and offset angles, what it simply does is that it closes the angle and distance between aircraft that are taking off. And so we've done this in Atlanta. And and that's called ELSO. Through ELSO, we've saved passengers 700,000 minutes of wait time. That's 1.3 years. Let's take performance-based navigation, under performance-based navigation, and that's really using GPS-enabled technology to redesign the routes that airplanes fly to make it more efficient. First of all, Houston. Houston, we redesigned 61 different routes. And because of that redesign, we were able to take 31,000 metric tons of carbon emissions out of the air each year. Let's take North Texas, another one we've done, for example. We were able to reduce the amount of miles flown by 1 million miles, 1 million miles a year. That's redoing 86 different procedures, right? And that's able to take 41,000 metric tons of emissions out of the air. That's a benefit to the customer. That's a benefit to the taxpayer. That's significant savings. Another one is optimized profile descent, which is good, I think, for the aviators and also good for the economy. And I had an opportunity to do a jump seat on an OPD. And so typically when you fly an airplane and you land, it's like going downstairs, right? You decrease, you level off, you decrease, you level off. Through an OPD, and we were going into Phoenix, over Albuquerque, we got our final instructions. You pull it on full idle, and it's like sliding down a banister. So it's a much easier technology to use. And I'm told by American Airlines that it saves them $1 million a month in fuel costs. I didn't give any examples on surface. That's a series of techniques to improve predictability and data sharing. And if you take, so let's take Atlanta for example. I did a jump seat ride into Atlanta. And if you were to buy a ticket from DC to Atlanta, it would be 120 minutes. Only 80 of those minutes are actually in the air, so that's 20 minutes of pad on each side. The goal of what we're doing is to take those two 20-minute buffers and squeeze those 6, 8, or 10 minutes, right, and make them more predictable, right? So that's giving time back to the customer, right? So less time at the airport, less time in line, less time sitting on the tarmac. The predictability is good for the airlines because it allows them to do better and more accurate scheduling. So there's tremendous benefits, and again, not in a distant future. NextGen is now benefits today, benefits now. I think finishing out the infrastructure, doing the software modifications associated with taking us to the next iteration of capabilities, and then integrating those capabilities across the NAS is the next challenge. But we're hopeful that the great work that we're doing as a team today will provide an environment in which that future work can be done very well in collaborative fashion. We're very proud of the fact that we have the largest, the busiest, most complex, and the most diverse, but the safest aerospace. And so what NextGen is doing is making sure that it stays that way, not just today, but tomorrow. And so in sum, I would argue that we've done a great job of building and transforming the infrastructure. But more importantly, we're focused in this tipping point, in this turning point in time, we're focused our energy on providing capabilities in a 1 to 3 year time frame. But most importantly, we can demonstrate through the work we've done with Metroplex and multiple runway ops that we're providing benefits every day.